Welcome to the Cultivating Calmness Podcast. Today, I thought I would talk a little bit about vacation. It is spring break time. Many people have either gone on spring break, are on spring break, or are going on spring break. And some of you may not be doing any of that, and that's totally okay. Usually we do a staycation and the kids stay home and we kind of juggle that and end up working and maybe doing some things around town. But this year we took a little small break and we went to visit some family out near Boston and had a pretty relaxing time, and it was a pretty nice experience. And I just wanted to share a little bit about that. You know, I know a lot of people, when you have kids, vacation doesn't quite always seem like vacation. At least in my house, it doesn't always seem like that because it's a lot of work. And you know, especially if you have kids, to keep them entertained and to travel with them and to manage any behaviors or things that are going on. And depending on your kids and your family, sometimes things go smoothly and it's great and there's no problems. Doesn't usually work out that way like that in my family. So it doesn't always seem like it's, super relaxing, though this time I would have to say that we didn't plan anything super detailed. I let my family kind of plan stuff and just kind of went with the flow and did things around what would be good for the kids, which worked out because we did a lot of beach looking. Now, we were near Boston, so the beach was cold, and we were wearing winter coats and walking around the beach. And so there was no getting in the water or anything like that. So we did not go get a suntan while we were at the beach. But what we did do is we looked for sea glass. I don't know if you can see this, but sea glass. Yes, and most of the sea glass I have here, I would say for every piece that my family found and my husband found, I probably found one. I apparently was not very good at finding a sea glass, although it was a really cool experience just to be calm and focused and mindful. And, you know, we had good conversations and my kids were there. And, you know, for us, it was really, I guess it's our second time really looking for sea glass. We've done it one other time. And so I don't have the eye for it, right? And so this is where it kind of relates to mindfulness. My family, on the other hand, they've been doing this for years and years and years. So they spot that sea glass right away and they found so many. And, I think that's just something that comes with experience when you know what you're looking for and you know how to find it. You know what it looks like, and you get better and better and better at finding it. And I just thought I would talk a little bit about that today. You know, we went looking for sea glass, and I have a bag here. If you're watching, there's some seashells mixed in, but for the most part, most of this bag is sea glass. And I haven't laid it out even to really look at all of it. But there's probably a good 2 or 3 big handfuls here. A couple large pieces, but most of them are smaller pieces. There's a rock in there that I thought was kind of cool. And there's a lot of brown and clear white pieces, and there are a few green pieces. And then some that look kind of yellow, so they could just be, a light brown. And then I don't know that I can see any of them right here, right now, but even there's some that had a very slight hint of purple. I have one right here. You can't really tell, looking in the camera, but when you compare it against other things, there are a couple pieces in here that have that tinge of purple glass. And so when you're looking, everybody's always looking for, any kind of glass, but then there are the unique colors, the ones that there are less of, like blue and red. And green is still less likely, but I do have a decent amount of green in here. So it's really cool to, take the time to look and find and explore things. My son wanted to look for shark teeth. We did not find any shark teeth, but I hear that there are beaches where apparently tons and tons of shark teeth wash up on shore, just as there are probably beaches where more sea glass washes up. Now, sea glass forms by just being tossed around in the ocean and that gritty, the sandy ocean, salty, and it just grinds and grinds and tosses and moves, and it's like, getting brushed around. You can have a tumbler that could do that for you, or you can find it naturally. So, of course, we found several pieces that were just like clear glass. We could have kept them, but they were not done yet. They were not ripe enough. They didn't have any polishing on them. They weren't buffed up. They weren't, they were see-through. Well, when you're looking for sea glass, you're not really looking for see-through glass. You're looking for more of that like opaque glass, so you can't really see through it, like the ones that I held up. And I have some that maybe are less see-through than others, but they do have that brushing to them, that, tumbling, effect to them. So we did keep them, but we did toss a few back. So my focus and what I wanted to share was just how you could practice mindfulness, whether you're on vacation or whether you're just at home. Mindfulness takes practice. And oftentimes when I talk about mindfulness with people, we're talking about deep breathing. And deep breathing, it takes practice. If we're not practicing and we're not learning how to do it differently or how it works best for you, it may not feel like it's working at all. Deep breathing, for example, we want to practice, finding a good pattern that works for us. There's all kinds of recommendations and patterns out there, and I'm not here to talk about those specifically today. I just want to talk about the act of being mindful and focused. So when your therapist or when somebody says, take a deep breath, well, we're not breathing in and out and continuing to focus on what our mind was focusing on before, like an argument or something that's frustrating us or something we're worried about. Because if we're doing that, we are not being mindful. We are not focused on something that's going to calm us down. You are focused. You're just focused on something that's agitating you, frustrating you, causing you worry and stress and anxiety. We want to bring that down. And so the way to do that is to bring your attention of your mind and your body to one thing specifically. So on the beach, it was honed in and looking for glass, right? It wasn't like looking for all the things that we could find, because believe me, there was tons of stuff there. There was seaweed, and there were lots of different types of seashells, and there were rocks, and then there were the waves crashing, and depending on how close we were to the ocean, we had to maybe pay attention to whether we were going to get bombarded with waves and get our feet all wet and then freezing, so if we decided to move further away, we didn't have to worry about the ocean and the water and focus on that. All we needed to focus on was looking down and looking for that right piece, whether it was the sun shining off of it or something that made it stand out. That's what we were looking for. And, every once in a while I would spot a rock or a seashell that I liked that also stood out to me, and I would pick that up. But my focus and attention wasn't on picking up every single seashell that I found or every single rock that I found, because I would have buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets of those. No, my focus was, how can I find these pieces of sea glass? Now, I don't quite know what I'm going to do with them yet. They look really pretty. Some people just save them, add them to jars, build them up over time. Some people make art with them and design with them. I'd probably like to do something like that. I just don't know what that will be yet, but it will be something, and I will be able to remember that experience, being able to spend time with my family, my children, my family from Boston, and just the good time that we spent there. And that's kind of what matters. And that's what mindfulness is. It's being able to recall and remember the positives and the good things, and noticing something that is going to regulate your body. So if it is deep breathing, it's noticing, what is it doing to your body when you breathe in and breathe out. Sometimes we focus our breathing out on something specific, like a specific body part, or a goal in mind, and we're breathing in good energy and breathing out bad energy, things of that nature. Sometimes it's focusing on how we're breathing. Some people do square breathing. That's just because it's a count of, say, 4 over and over and over again. In, out, hold, in, out, hold, hold, in, out, hold, in, out, hold, something like that, right? And so you can do that with breathing. You can do that with other exercises. as long as you're getting your mind to focus on what you needed to focus on as well. So I just wanted to share this little tip. It's something that I thought I would bring to the table today with my sea glass that I got, and how we can connect that to therapy and mindfulness. So sea glass hunting and mindfulness go hand in hand. Maybe you should try it someday, or find your sea glass, whatever that is for you, and practice being mindful today. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again next week.